Welcome to the Ben and Walker Movie Show. I'm your co-host, Ben Davis, joined by my other co-host, Walker Holt, and we're excited to have a conversation with you about one of our favorite things in the world, movies and the big game. If this is your first time being here with us, welcome. We are so glad to have you, and while you're here, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest content that we have for you guys. And if you enjoy your time here with us, be sure to comment down below, like, share, but especially comment down below with your thoughts on today's show. Let us know how we're doing. That's how we know if we can improve or not. This is our weekly show called What We're Watching, where we discuss what we've been watching to let you guys know if it's a must-see, a go see it, a rent it, or just a skip it. Now that we got that all down and out of the way, Mr. Holt, how you doing?
I'm good. Super Bowl Sunday when we're recording this. That's exciting.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped about it. I'm pulling for CMC. I'm wearing my Run CMC shirt. He's a
Okay.
he's a
Very
Panther
cool.
great, man. I
Yeah.
don't like the 49ers. I don't like the Chiefs really, so it's like just got to pull for my player.
Yeah. I'm pretty indifferent in terms of the game. My wife does not like the Chiefs, though. She lived in Kansas for a while as a Patriots fan and I think was subject to a lot of annoying fandom for an opposition. You know what I mean? So she
Yeah,
doesn't like it. So I think it's just easier for me to not cheer for them. So I guess that's what I'm going to do.
yeah, that makes
But
sense.
um,
Happy wife, happy life.
It's been a busy weekend, a lot of moving around. Finally finished those attic stairs, just painted them, which looks great.
Oh,
Went to the movies
nice.
last night. But other than that, weather's been great here. It's been kind of low 70s all weekend.
That's really awesome. It's been like that here too. So like not today. It's back in the 30s, but this entire week it was like 50s, 60s, 70s. It was really, really nice. And then
Yeah,
yesterday it was a little colder. Today it's a lot colder. Tomorrow there's like a 70% chance of snow.
yeah, we're having like an outdoor Super Bowl party later.
So
Not
jealous.
me, but friends of ours.
That's nice, man. That's nice. Any big trailers that you expect to see?
No, I didn't. For on the Super Bowl, I'm pretty pumped for Deadpool.
Yeah, for Super Bowl.
Yeah, sorry. I'm pretty pumped for Deadpool. I'm trying to think of what else. Now, usually it feels like they put a ton. The last couple of years, it felt like they've put a ton of the commercials online early, and I have
Yeah,
seen one or two. Like I've seen the Paramount Mountain one,
that one's so funny.
but I hate that they do that. Why do they? I wish they wouldn't do that. Like I mean that takes away so much of it. I definitely enjoy the commercials for the Super Bowl, but don't. Let that be like a part of it. Don't put it out early. But I actually haven't seen many. I think Paramount might be the only one I've seen.
That's the only one I've seen, and the Arnold Schwarzenegger one. It's like a insurance commercial. Pretty pumped to see that with the fam because we all
Yeah,
love Arnold.
I haven't seen that one. I'm trying. What else? What other movies are? I know. We're pretty sure Deadpool's coming, right?
Yeah, that one's the one that I'm most confident that we're gonna get a Deadpool 3 trailer. I'm sure I like what they did last year, where they did the Guardians trailer and the Flash trailer, and it was just a 30-second spot, and then they said trailer online right now, so you can actually watch the full length version.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I like that. I think that that's probably what they're going to do. They're going to show like an edited for TV
Something that only cost
PG-13.
$8 million.
Yeah, only 8 million. Some I think it's going to be like TV, PG or whatever, and then they might release like a red band or something like that. I could see them doing that. I don't know if that's what they're doing. Obviously, by the time people listen to this, we will know what they've released. But I'm pretty excited to see it. I'm pretty pumped to see it.
Gotcha.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
Now, before we get into what we're watching and everything like that, is there anything that you want to discuss like off the top in terms of like movie news? Anything that stuck out to you in pop culture? Could be anything.
Yeah, the did you see that ESPN? Speaking of Super Bowl, did you see ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers are meeting about possibly combining services and with a new
I
streaming app?
saw I saw it. It's about sports in particular, right?
Right.
That's
Yep.
that's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
But it's
seen that
kind
though.
of it's kind of in the same vein, though. I mean, it's so interesting to me because we've already gotten Max that has or HBO, which is paired up with Discovery and
Mhm. Well,
Warner
Discovery bought
Brothers.
a Warner Brothers.
Right. Yeah. Discovery, Warner Brothers, and HBO are now on Max, and then Paramount and Showtime have combined forces. And now, I mean, I know Disney owned Hulu, but now Hulu and Disney Plus are putting out their beta version of their single app that is all
Yeah.
one thing. Paramount is also, I think, meeting with both Apple and maybe HBO as well or Max as well to possibly combine there. It's gonna just combine. Like it's just so interesting to me that we're coming full circle and coming back to like a something that resembles cable. But I mean, it's gonna be like a huge monopoly. I mean, these companies are so valuable, and they're gonna there's gonna be like three CEOs that own like all media. It
Everything.
feels
Yeah,
like.
it's insane. Of course, there's been rumors that Apple's going to buy Disney. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. There's the whole Paramount thing that you mentioned, where I think it's Skydance. I want to say it's Skydance and Warner Brothers Discovery are talking about buying Paramount. Obviously, Tom Cruise recently signed like a deal where his production company will be at Warner Brothers.
Right.
So that, and he's from Paramount. So
I
that
wonder if
leads
any
me
of that
to
has any.
believe
Yeah.
that Paramount's probably gonna go to Warner Brothers Discovery. It's crazy. I think a lot of studios put, especially once the pandy happened, put a lot of emphasis on streaming because they were scared. They didn't know what was gonna happen, and they thought that streaming was going to be this ultra profitable thing, and it turns out it's not as profitable as people thought. Especially for movies, movies always do better on streaming when they get a theatrical release. Typically, if a movie hits streaming, it hits streaming. It's big for a week, maybe, and then people kind of forget about it. It's very
Mhm.
hard to get a movie that really hits on streaming if it doesn't first have a theatrical run. And I think people are starting to realize that. Now, when it comes to sports and these companies coming together, what were the companies? Disney.
ESPN, Fox, yeah, Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers.
Yeah, that makes sense because Netflix just recently bought, was it? They're not bought, but they're going to get Monday Night Raw for like 5 years.
Really, I didn't know that.
Starting next year, they will have live sports with wrestling, sports entertainment. But
Interesting.
it's,
So
and
they do Netflix has had several successful docu series on sports like the F1 Drive to
mhm.
Survive, the golf Full Swing, and they have a tennis one that I think is less successful, but it's still I heard it's good. Breakpoint.
Obviously, The Last Dance is on Netflix, and I've watched that I don't know how many times because Michael Jordan is like, to me, he's the greatest professional athlete of all time. He's
Yeah.
just the freaking man.
Yeah, and then they recently at the Win in Las Vegas they hosted a live golf event that was like a pro am where it was maybe four professionals, maybe six, I'm not sure, versus or partnered with six F1 drivers live playing golf at the Las Vegas golf course, the Win, right next to that Sphere thing in Vegas, and
Yeah,
so that was I think that might have been the first live sporting event Netflix has done, and it was like, well, that's interesting that they can do that. And then Apple, I know is Apple. I know they've already kind of combined. They've done a little bit of baseball with they bought some rights to like Friday Night Baseball, and now they've moved into the MLS soccer world, and I think their next frontier is F1 as well. I mean, F1's since this docu series on Netflix has caught a lot of popularity in the states, and and I think Apple is catering to that like posh kind of high class crowd that likes
Yeah.
F1 and big money, and they're doing a F1 movie with Brad Pitt apparently, and they're putting a ton of money into it. They're
Yeah,
doing I think they're doing
Joseph Kaczynski is directing that. The
oh
director
really
of
really
Top Top Gun Maverick, Oblivion, Tron
oh
Legacy.
that sounds great. I,
Mm.
I mean, Rush was already great. And then having like someone behind the camera that's really into like that intensity, and someone like Brad Pitt starring is great. I think they're doing another F1 documentary, and then they are. I think they might buy some rights to F1. Like I think they might own like some televised stuff. And Apple's just got such deep pockets. I imagine they're gonna get in bed with another one of these companies and buy some stuff up, because I mean I mean, when you talk about like Disney, I don't know if that's going to happen either, but like when you talk about the number of companies that have the pocketbook to afford Disney, it's a short list.
Apple could buy them like 5 times over.
Sure.
Like they're like what, a $2 trillion company or something like that.
It's somewhere in that world. They're huge, but overall, I don't know what this means for us. I don't know if it's good news or bad news, but it's certainly interesting. I'm gonna keep my eye on it. I know we don't typically talk sports, but I just thought the vein of streaming services combining was kind of relevant to things we talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll probably come out. Like I know very little about this topic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it'll come out. It'll be like $49.99 or something like that, and then in by the time you get to 2 years, it'll be like $69.99 or something like that.
Yeah,
Really expensive.
just gonna be
That's how they
cable.
get you. Yep, it's just cable all over again. Except you're paying for multiple cable services instead of just one. That's how they get you. Listen, I have a couple of things that really stand out this week. But the sticking before we dive into movies, although this kind of relates. Do you keep up with professional wrestling at all?
No, I did love wrestling. As like a 11 through 13-year-old. I kind of in the 2001, 2, 3, 4 era,
Hmm.
and was pretty obsessed with it at the time, and enjoyed learning a little bit about the history of it, and have not kept up with it much since, but I'm not anti it or anything. I enjoy a little bit of news about it.
Nice. All right. So this has very little to do with movies, right? But The
Mhm.
Rock came back to WWE. He was there where Netflix signed that deal for Monday Night Raw, and he is now a member of the TKO board that owns WWE.
Hmm.
He has come into WWE. He's involved in this storyline with Cody Rhodes, who, for the past 2 years have been trying to finish his story or whatever, become
Mhm.
the world heavyweight champion, beat Roman Reigns, who's had the title for like almost 4 years. And they set up this whole huge storyline. And then all of a sudden, The Rock is facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, or that's what they were alluding to. And the fans like rebelled hard against that because storyline wise, it didn't make sense. Even though that's a match that people really want to see because they're cousins, it's inherent to part of the storyline. But the fans rebelled. Hashtag We Want Cody trended for like days and days, and they had this giant press conference in Las Vegas this week, and The Rock turned full heel. He went bad guy. So for those who aren't familiar with wrestling, Hill is is bad guy. It's bad guy, and he went full like Hollywood Rock like he was in 2003, and it was awesome.
That's great.
Because personally, like again, I know this isn't movie related. I want to see Cody Rhodes finish his story. I have not been this invested in a wrestling storyline since Daniel Bryan's 2014 Yes Movement storyline. Seeing Cody Rhodes be like a white meat babyface, which is a wrestling term for good guy, in the
Mhm.
year 2024, that is really hard to do, to be a like a baby face and to get over how he's gotten over and to be as beloved as he's beloved. That is really, really hard to do. And he's done it. And I want to see him win that title. And seeing The Rock go full bad guy, he's not going to stay a bad guy. He's going to end up probably costing, because they ended up pivoting and now they are going with Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, at least for right now. And I could see The Rock playing like a Mike Tyson type of role from WrestleMania 14 back in the day, where Mike Tyson's with DX and all of a sudden at the end he sides with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I could see that happening. And then it builds toward a WrestleMania next year
Yeah.
where you have Roman versus The Rock uh, for the tribal chief title or whatever. Again, I know that's not really movie related, although The Rock is a huge star. And it seems that, with everything that was going on between the DC stuff and Black Adam, he's come back to wrestling and kind of gonna rebuild himself, rebuild his image a little bit. Even though I love The Rock, I've always loved The Rock. He's my favorite professional wrestler of all time. I
Jabroni
think
beating, pie eating, trail blazing, eyebrow raising,
eyebrow
heart
raising,
stopping, elbow
yeah,
dropping, skip the rock.
yeah, the people's champ. He's the best. I'm looking forward to that WrestleMania. I mean, he did this though back in 2011. He was away from wrestling for a while. He kind of got into this mode of movie roles where he was doing a lot of Disney stuff and it wasn't really working. And then he goes back to wrestling, and in that same year, he has Fast Five come out, which is beloved, and then he becomes even bigger, literally too, than he's ever been.
Mhm.
And he's doing it once again. It's a shrewd business move. Yeah, Hill Rock is fucking great. I love it.
So you say The Rock's your favorite of all time?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to pick because like I love Edge and The Rock and John Cena. Yeah, Edge, The Rock, John Cena are like my, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Love Shawn Michaels
Yeah.
too. Those were always like my favorites. Edge was like the greatest bad guy ever. So it's so freaking funny stuff he did with like Vicky Guerrero back in the day when I was like in middle school is priceless.
No, like Rock
Had the
and
pleasure of going. No, yeah, he was nice. I had the pleasure of going to WrestleMania 24 and seeing Edge take on Undertaker in the main event. It was epic. It's epic.
yeah, wrestling was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Kind of miss it. It's what got me
Did
into
you get it?
real wrestling. I
Same.
did it
Same.
because I was hoping it would be kind of similar. I was like, yeah, maybe someone will pick me up. I'll hit him with a Hurricane Rana, and
Well, the thing that got me into real wrestling, but the thing that also kind of like the thing that got me into like wrestling in high school on top of the WWE stuff was also like I remember Dan Trell would come over and we would play SmackDown versus Raw 2007,
Mhm.
and me telling him like, yeah, I'm gonna go to high school and because at the time I was homeschooled, I was like, I'm gonna go to high school and I'm gonna wrestle. He's like, oh, you need to talk to Walker then. And that's how I first heard about you. I was
That's
like,
funny.
okay. But yeah, those are our choices. Of course, there's a couple other things like you have the Mandalorian and Grogu will hit theaters in 2026. I don't know. There's like two dates slated. You have a May and December release. I don't know when, but that was kind of announced as well. That'll be the first movie in a series of new slate of releases. I'm pretty pumped about that. But
Mhm.
yeah, man. Anyways, let's get into what we're watching. Walker, what you've been watching, man?
I finally watched. I didn't have time to watch all that much in terms of titles, but one of them was a full season of a show, so I watched Gen V finally.
Oh,
I
what'd you think?
recently watched The Boys, and now finally got Gen V. I thought it was great. I thought it was I really enjoyed The Boys. I knocked all three seasons of that out in like less than a month,
Yeah.
and it's a weird feeling going into a spinoff all the time. You if you like the show, you're excited because you want more, but you're also skeptical. I mean, I'm always skeptical going into a spinoff that it's like, come on, you're just going to be like a money grab. It's not going to be that good. You've seen it, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I watched it when it came out.
I almost loved all of it. I mean, I thought the characters were great. I thought the
Hmm.
powers were really cool. I thought they kept the spirit of the show alive by like the shock value moments. Shock value kind of comes off as a negative term most of the time. People say like, "Oh, they used it for shock value." I mean, the Boys has value in their shock value. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
part of the
the
charm of the show.
value. The
It's
shock is
truly
the
shocking.
value.
It's
Yeah,
truly
the shock
shocking.
is the value with this. It actually elevates what you're watching instead of just coming
Mm.
across as the story's not interesting, so we have to like engage the audience somehow. This has an engaging story, and it uses that engaging story and elevates it by showing you the shock.
Yeah.
It works really, really well.
So I thought some of the powers were very cool. I think Moira, what's her name? The blood girl, the main girl. I keep
Yeah.
wanting to call her Coagula because that's what somebody says in the show. At first, like in the first episode, I was like, I mean, that's kind of a weird power. But then as it went on, and people were like, that's the coolest, most interesting power I've ever seen. And I was like, really? And then like as the show went on, I was like, it is pretty cool. That is cool. Like everything she was
Because
doing
you
started getting
can,
cooler and cooler. But it's kind of like she started discovering herself what she was capable of as it went on. Because at first it was like the little hand cut was like, I mean, sure, it should exist, but I don't know if that should be the main character. And then she started kind of like healing someone. And I was like, well, that was cool. And then it was like, the psychic guy when he locked her in his mind or whatever in a bedroom or whatever, the blonde guy, and she exploded him. Yeah, the I thought the shock value was great. I thought the distance from the show in terms of being its own thing was really well done. It did not. It felt like it wasn't just season 4 of The Boys. It felt like its own thing, but the connection still felt relevant to where it felt like you were in the same universe and were paid off a little bit for watching both, which I think is perfect for a spinoff. I thought the characters, I thought the powers were very cool. I thought it looked great. I thought the performances were pretty good. I would say, I mean, and this isn't a knock. We're just comparing it to The Boys. I'd say I wouldn't consider it equal in terms of writing. I don't think the writing's quite as tight as The Boys, but I don't. It's not bad. It's good. I consider it good writing and a good show. It's just The Boys had this way of telling a story. I don't know. The Boys had this like great exposition like talent about it, the way they could like explain what's going on and tell a story and fill you in. They're just really good at it, and they don't get too far ahead of themselves. Some shows, I don't know, there's when they get translucent in the first season of The Boys. They capture them, and like that whole arc takes like 4 episodes, 5 episodes to complete. And it's like some shows will rush through that in 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And like they unfold it, and just because the characters are so great and the dialogue's so great and the writing's so good that it unfolds perfectly. And in this, wasn't quite as tight to me, but I did think it was very good. And actually, it got better
yeah, the
because.
only
Oh, sorry. I've been talking my ass off. You go ahead.
no, that's fine. I think the only thing that doesn't work for me entirely in this first season is the character. It's Patrick Schwarzenegger's brother in the show. He's great. He's a great character. The Muppet Slaughter was great.
Max.
Yeah, Max. His turn in the final episode feels rushed. It didn't feel earned to me. It
Yeah.
didn't feel authentic. It just felt, well, we have to have these people have some type of conflict, and it didn't feel authentic or necessary to me. It didn't. It felt rushed. I think you definitely could have built toward that, but it certainly felt rushed.
I
I
liked him
didn't
for
really.
most of the season. Most of the season with his like troubled, like when he was working with
Oh yeah, I thought
cricket.
he was great. I thought
Yeah,
he was great. I just didn't
yeah,
like that final
sure, I get
turn.
that. And some of the things when I said the writing was that was kind of in the first 4 or 5 episodes was my thoughts, and then it did get better because they just really lay into that, like, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Like they almost trick you without even hiding anything. It's just in plain sight. And like I'm watching like Shelly, the dean or whatever of the college, and
Yeah,
like she's up to no good and she's bad, and then all of a sudden you start to like, then it starts to be like, well, she's trying to take down the seven. The seven suck. I mean, she's pretty like, she's not like, you forget like, oh yeah, they're bad. Like, and like you're like, so she's not like, it just really blurs the lines on who's a good guy and who's a bad guy, and basically
but
like
she
who's
like
willing
crosses
to
the
like,
line too.
yeah, well, who's willing to like, what she's willing for collateral damage to have to like
She's willing
to
to take
to
out every superhero in order to take out or super in order to take out the
Mhm.
seven. And it's like, they're not all of the people aren't bad. Like
Yeah,
the show handles the morally gray in a very, very interesting and good way, I think.
yeah, I do too. And I like the congresswoman. I don't remember her actual position or her name, but the head popper who's got the same
Yeah.
powers as the store.
Hmm.
She didn't do much for me for a while until she started getting to be a central plot point in the boys,
Yeah.
and now she was pretty good in this. I thought she was she's very interesting. Um, um, So yeah, the boys. I mean, I give it a must see. I mean, it's especially. I mean, the boys is definitely a must see. I think this is a must see as well. I think if it's right in, if you like the boys, you'll like this too. It's a lot of fun. It's a great show to like talk about. Good serialized. I'm glad I'm caught up on it. We can kind of maybe introduce it to our weekly.
Weekly discussions. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Because
it's
it's,
definitely a good one to do it because it's always noteworthy. It's always at least
yeah.
worth a laugh or a scare or something.
Well, it's also like season 4, I believe, is dropping this year. I don't know when, but I know it's dropping, and I'm pretty pumped to see it.
Yeah.
See what Homelander's up to
Yeah, God, I was talking to Cody earlier because Homelander appears at the end there
at the end. Yeah.
eye blasts her. Oh, I loved when she blew up Kate's arm too. I like. First of all, I hate Kate. The whole time I'm like, God, dude, what are you? That's sometimes I get. I'm probably not a good person. Sometimes like when the morally like the protagonist is like
Hmm.
questioning their morality and like whether or not they can like hurt someone because you know what I'm saying. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
just do it, kill her now, stop letting her touch people. And, but I did enjoy your blowing her arm off.
Yeah. That
But
was real violent.
yeah, I was talking to Cody, and the boys does a great job of making me as a viewer feel like hopeless and helpless with Homelander existing. I know that we're talking about Genevieve, but just because he showed up at the end, it's like there's a lot of moments where you're like, dude, what the hell are they gonna do with this dude? He is out of control. And like I feel so bad for the I mean
He
they're
is.
always assholes, but the PR people, like I forgot her name. She's in Walking Dead, the red hair. She replaces
Yeah. Losing
the
her
woman
hair
that
because of the.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean she has nowhere to go. And the woman before her was better at controlling it, obviously until a certain point. But there's nothing, you can't control the man or the thing.
I I just like part of me sometimes just absolutely wishes someone like it's not possible, but someone like a Superman could just fly into the world of the boys and just take out Homelander because he would do it pretty easily. Because I
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely hate Homelander, but I love to hate him.
yeah. I don't want him to die because I mean,
Oh, I do.
first,
I want him
I do,
gone.
I do eventually, but I don't yet. I mean, first of all, I the actor. I mean, I just like the performance, and I like the
He's
the
great.
loomingness. I mean, the negative feelings he makes me feel are like keep me hooked. So I do enjoy his presence, but yeah, he's an asshole. Um,
Absolutely.
Other than that, you have not seen Dream Scenario.
I really, really tried very hard to check it out this weekend, but I just couldn't get around to it, man.
Yeah, I watched it this morning actually. So we maybe if you end up seeing it, we can talk about it next week or something
Yeah.
more in depth. I'll give you just a brief kind of spoiler free thoughts and review.
Okay.
Pretty good. Not exactly what I thought it was gonna be.
Is it funny?
Yeah, fairly. I mean, it's pretty dry and pretty. My chief complaint is they didn't quite lean into the weird as much as I thought they would. Like the trailer makes
Okay.
it seem like this seems wild. It's not like that. Now it's interesting, and it's. I'm trying to think of like a another movie to compare it to. I wish I had thought that up before. I just finished it like 5 minutes before I started. Got on here. It it's less about the dreams and more
Mhm.
about how it changes his life that he's in so many people's dreams. You know what I mean? In real life. And
Okay. Yeah,
how
I
he
hear it touches on like the whole cancel culture stuff.
yeah. And I mean there's an interesting parallel there. I mean it's worth a watch. It was good. Nicolas Cage is great in it. It is pretty funny. There's some funny parts. I I guess my complaint would be they didn't. It felt like it was going to be like a wild ride, like I mean, a little more like Bo was Afraid, and
Yeah.
and it ended up being a little more tame, a little more down to earth than I expected. Granted, it's not down to earth; it is a
It's
extraordinary
Nicolas
plot,
Cage.
but
Yeah.
but he's great in it. He's pretty funny in it. I guess it just misses like a little like it factor. There was just a little bit of it that fell a little flat. That was never bored, but I was never like overly emoted. Like I never was overly
Yeah.
emotive. Like I never was like laughing my ass off. I was never like confused or intrigued. It was just kind of like a decent hour 40 watch. Just fell slightly flat for me, but not bad. I would give it a high go see. I mean, I'd probably give it somewhere in the 78, 79 world. Um, But
Okay.
I'd like to hear what you think about it whenever you see it. And we can talk a little more in depth
Yeah,
about it because there are some interesting parts to it.
I think after today's show I will probably watch it
No.
once I have some time. This morning, speaking of things that I've watched, I made the what I would say the effort to finally finish Echo. Did you ever finish it?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Okay. What did you think?
Uh, uh, Let me get off the top. I did not mind that it was an ASL. I actually kind of thought that was cool. I thought the ASL portion of it was really
That's one of the
interesting and
more unique
cool. And
parts of it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I don't even mean it from like an inclusive standpoint. I mean it from like a diversity. Like it's just interesting and a new way to a new kind of vessel to use different types of like devices, a new device to like create like plot
Mhm.
points and you know kind of like a quiet place, just like different ways to like use sound or the absence of sound and communication. And it's interesting just seeing two people communicate in a way that I don't see very often. The show was boring as shit. I wasn't. It was a chore to get through. The trailer for it, which I rolled my eyes at the trailer, but it was very like, hey, this is an R-rated series or a
They
TVMA
really,
rated.
really, really leaned into that.
They're like, this is like
Yeah.
John Wick in Marvel. That you are gonna see. So, and it was like, I mean, you talking about the 5 minutes of fight that you put in the trailer, and that's it. I mean, there's a little bit of stuff. I mean, there's definitely some a little more brutality than most things, but like,
There's a little bit more like blood and stuff like that. But there's nothing. This is really a TV 14 show that they decided to throw a little bit more blood in to get the TVMA rating. Like, listen,
yeah, it's not a TVMA. I mean, I think
no,
they just made it up. I think they just made it up. I think they just asked for it, and like the opposite of most marketing, where typically R and MA reduces your audience. They're like, we're gonna this show's boring, so we're gonna be like I mean, it's not Deadpool. It's not even close. I mean, like this is
no, it's
a
not. This isn't even like Netflix R-rated stuff. Like Daredevil that show's R-rated. Punisher, very R-rated. Jessica Jones, yes, at least the first season. There's stuff in there that's graphic. There's nothing really in here that's graphic. Now that's not to say that like I think the show, if it would have had it, it would have been better. No. Like, listen, I don't have too much to add about this show. I really don't. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't excited for it. I wasn't over the moon for it. The trailers, it made me think, you know, made me think all the negative buzz was just nonsense because honestly, I bought the trailers. So I was like, okay, this looks really fun. It looks entertaining. They're leaning more into the Netflix of it all. This could be good. They could have salvaged, you know, what we had at least been hearing through the trades that this is going to be a mess. And unfortunately, I found this show to be quite like you, very dull outside of a few action sequences. Like the Daredevil action sequence was great. The fight scene was good. The fight scene and the skating rink was also awesome. They used Rob Zombie's Dracula. Great song. Great action sequence to use it in.
Mhm.
The performances are good. Vincent D'Onofrio is always great as Kingpin, but the writing, I shouldn't say always because Hawkeye, they kind of messed him up a little bit, but the writing just didn't make me care about what was going on. Like it just felt like a slog to get through. It was so dull, just very dull, and I felt nothing while watching it outside of good performances and good ideas, good representation, all that stuff. But it just didn't. It didn't make a like a plot that I found engaging. It was hard to get through, man. But I think the cool thing about this show is that even though this might be an issue going forward, is that they made all the Netflix shows canon to the greater MCU. That was not always the plan,
Mhm.
but it
Have you seen them
seems
all?
that. So I've seen Daredevil seasons 1, 2, 3. I've seen the Defenders. I bailed on Iron Fist, so I can't really say or give an opinion on it because I didn't fully watch it. Luke Cage season 1 was good until they killed off Cottonmouth. Cottonmouth is also played by Mahershala Ali. This is a problem because he's also Blade.
Hmm.
Gemma Chan was in Captain Marvel, sure, but she was covered in blue makeup. You don't really recognize her, and then she's in Eternals in a lead role, so it's different. Mahershala Ali is going to play playing both, and it's not like makeup is required outside of the fangs for vampire. But I saw Jessica Jones season 1. I thought that was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I know most people love it. I did not like Punisher season 1. Didn't watch season 2. I know a lot of people love it. I know that's sacrilegious to say I didn't love Punisher season 1. I like John Bernthal as Punisher, but I just didn't engage with it. I I think overall the Netflix shows are a bit of a mixed bag. Like The Defenders is kind of a mixed bag, but Daredevil season 1 is excellent. Season 2 is a bit of a step down, but still really good. In some instances, it became more of a Punisher show, and it kind of took away from Matt. But then season 3, excellent. Once again, excellent. I think, going forward, it might pose an issue. I do think it's a smart thing to do because people love those Netflix shows, people in particular Daredevil, and you can kind of cherry pick what worked in that Netflix Marvel stuff, put it into the MCU, make it work. I think for this show though, I think it's kind of I would give it a rent it because it's not there's nothing particularly bad about the show. It's just dull. It's just really boring,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And
and
I've heard people really like it, but it's not for me.
yeah. I mean, I there was very little that I enjoy. I mean, and I will give them the benefit of the doubt that there's kind of a you can't win for losing thing. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't,
Yeah,
because like, there's so many issues that like people will complain about. People will be like, man, like everything's got to be this connected. Like we're moving the big overall story forward. Everything's got to be these huge stakes. Why is it like that? And then all of a sudden they make this like, hey, all right, we're gonna do this small town thing. It's kind of standalone. It's a little connected. It moves the story a little bit, but it's not. It's not. It's mostly about this contained
yes,
story. And it's like, yeah, but that's boring. We don't want that. Give us something. And it's like, you can't really win. I mean, it's basically just the quality's not that good. I mean, just, I don't care if it's big, small,
yeah.
standalone, connected, world universe stakes or small town podunk stakes. I don't care. Just make the
Bigness
writing good.
the bigness or the smallness, exactly, the bigness or the smallness does not make it a good story. What makes it a good story is writing compelling characters, and they just didn't write a compelling enough story. Some bits are there, but they don't really delve into it enough, and by the time you get to that final episode, it's like the shortest one, and it there's some stuff that's wrong with it too. Like it's not, like I said, like it's not horrible, but there's some stuff that doesn't really work. Like you shot Kingpin in the eye and he comes back. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
how?
Like they even had they didn't show it in Hawkeye. It was off screen. They had the luxury of like doing whatever they wanted with it, and they went with no. She really shot him in the eye, and he lived.
Well, that's something that they do in the comics, and there has been things where people get shot in the head and then they miraculously live. That has happened before. Like I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's still like, yeah, it was a bore of a show, which is why we are talking about it weeks after it's come out because it's just taken us both so long to get through it. But yeah, I'd give it a rent it. Somewhere around
Thankfully,
like
it's only 5
40.
episodes too. Thankfully, they didn't
Yeah,
try to
around the
make us
48,
suffer for 10
45%.
episodes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's not it's not great. However, Walker, you know what is great?
what's that?
You know what is great?
What?
American Fiction.
Oh, you saw it?
I did see it.
Huh.
And listen, man, I watched it yesterday when Zoe was taking her nap. Me and Carly sat down. We watched it. I said we sat down. We laid in bed and watched it. I love this movie, man. I found the social commentary and the satire to be very biting, incredibly clever, and really funny. But that's not the main reason the movie works so well. That's the hook. But what like pulls you in is the family story. It's the drama that really carries the film and makes it sing. It makes you like care about this family and this family that is, it feels like a real family. It's not a perfect family. There's a lot going on with it. No family's perfect. Like You have Sterling K. Brown, who's recently come out as, or his character, Cliff, who's recently come out as homosexual, and certain people in his life are he feels are rejecting him, and then you have Thaddeus, or not Thaddeus. What's his name? Oh my god,
Monk.
the main character, Monk. Thank you, Monk. You have Monk, who is dealing with a lot, and he has a lot of like, I don't want to say it's a lot of anger that he has boiling under the surface, and you see it come through as the movie comes along because he's just holding so much in, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that the movie works so well, and everything going on with his mother. It's just a really really good movie. I kind of loved it. I just think how it blends a satire with a great family story. That's what makes it so good. Because this could have easily just overcooked the satire, but it doesn't. It it doesn't. It blends it so well into the narrative and into the story. It's really funny.
Yeah. What I agree completely. I think it was, first of all, Sterling K. Brown is hysterical in it. I think he's so funny.
I liked him in the movie. Like I really did. This is gonna get some. I know I'm gonna get some flack for this because I love Sterling K. Brown. I think he's a terrific actor. I don't want to say you should take him out of Best Supporting Actor. I wouldn't put him in over Charles Melton. I don't understand. I understand why that
I
happened
thought he
because
was
Charles
awesome.
Melton is this young up and coming actor.
Mhm.
I thought he was great. I did, but I don't know if I'd put him in over Charles Melton for Best Supporting Actor. But he was really good. I thought he was funny. I thought he was really funny.
Not flying the fucking plane.
It's 9 in the morning. I, I I don't want to get
Did
into
you like Jeffrey
spoilers.
Wright?
I loved him.
Yeah.
Loved him in this. This is probably his best performance that I've ever seen him given, and he's never given a bad one. He is terrific in this. Terrific.
Yeah.
Because he's funny. He's got this sadness to him. He's got this anger boiling up in him. It's a great performance. It's a great performance. Best actor is more stacked than you think when you look at all those performances. Like
Yeah.
whether it's Cillian Murphy, Paul Giamatti, Jeffrey Wright, um,
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper. Like there's no there's no bad performance there.
Yeah.
There's no bad performance there. And if any of those actors win, I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked. And I would not be mad either. Because it's like, okay, I get it. I get why they win. I get why they won.
Mhm. What did you think about the ending?
I like the ending.
Yeah, I did too. I think that's the chief complaint I've heard about online was that they just maybe, I mean, not everybody, but the people who didn't like something just didn't love the way they went at the end. I think it was
I liked
perfect.
it because it fits into the satire of it all, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's right on the nose and still subtle at the same time, and and also it's not the point.
Yep.
I mean, they do
Yeah.
clarify that. I mean, it's just not, that's not the point we're trying to make. It doesn't matter how it ends.
Yeah. That's not this is just a story that you're seeing unfolding because the real story of the movie is the story of this family. The
Yeah.
satire is the thing that hooks you, but what reels you in is the family dynamic and everything that goes on with it. I quite loved it. I loved the sister too,
Yeah.
Lisa. She was great. She was freaking great. I loved. Without giving anything away, there's a speech that Jeffrey Wright has to make in the movie about her, and I loved it.
Hmm.
I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it. I thought it was wonderful. So yeah, I quite loved American Fiction. I'd give it a must see, a pretty high must see. I don't know the percentage just yet. I just saw it yesterday. Probably around the 94, 95%.
Yeah,
So
I think I
it's
landed
pretty
on
high.
93.
I think it would probably end up in my top 10. I'll have to go back and look and see where I'd place it. I don't know exactly
Right.
where, but it would probably end up knocking something out.
Great movie though.
But yeah, great movie. So you went to the theater yesterday. What did you check out?
Dune Part 1 got re-released
Okay.
in
Well,
IMAX.
without giving away your thoughts on that movie because it might step on something later. What did what'd you think about seeing it in IMAX?
I saw it in IMAX the first time too, but
Okay.
now it was even better. I mean, I had a bit of an first time can be a little overwhelming because it's a dense story. It's a dense material. I mean, it's complex. They do a great job with exposition. They really explain the story pretty well, but still, time number one, you're also in awe of the theatrics of it all. It's tough, and I've seen it once or twice since the theater the opening weekend. So it was nice to go in and really just kind of experience it without being overwhelmed by the story. I understand the story, I know the story, and I can just kind of appreciate it for what it is. That, and I'll say it's loud as shit. It's so loud.
When that voice comes in at the beginning,
I love that.
yeah, it's like, oh, it really
No,
makes you sink into your seat. Yeah, I
no,
unfortunately don't have an IMAX theater that's within driving. I mean, I have an IMAX theater that's within driving distance, but I have the movie at home. I'm just going to check it out at home.
yeah,
But that's awesome, man. I'm sure you and I will be discussing Dune again pretty soon. However, I did go to the theater this weekend and I saw Lisa Frankenstein.
what do you think?
So this movie was right up my alley, man. But I don't think it'll be for everyone. I can say that
Mm-hmm.
with with full confidence. It's so weird. It's quirky. It's funny, and it's ridiculous. It's got a great tone that it sticks through throughout and leans into the camp of it all. This movie is really campy, and I love it. It reminds me a lot of something like Warm Bodies meets Idle Hands, or Jennifer's Body, which makes sense because it's written by Diablo Cody. Uh, it's surprisingly violent, and dark, and gross for a PG-13 movie. Like they really go for it. I don't understand how, unlike Echo, this really leans into the closer to the R rating. Like this pushes things pretty far, but it never pushes things too far in the dark aspect. It never really fully loses its tone. Zelda Williams crushes this very witty and odd script with an exceptional eye. I love her style. I love her style. And I can't wait to see what she does in the future. I think she's very talented. Also, I think the soundtrack to this movie is great. Obviously, it's set in 1989, so it has some bright colors that pop, but it doesn't feel like too poppy,
Mm-hmm.
like it's going over the top. In that sense, it feels accurate. But I also thought the cast was great. In particular, Catherine Newton, who is going for it in this movie, and Cole Sprouse, who does a lot with very little, given he's a zombie the entire the entire movie. I'd give this gothic coming of age romantic horror comedy a must see. Like an 84,
Mm-hmm.
82, 83% somewhere in there. Like I kind of loved it. I watched it last night and was so into it. It felt like the theater I was watching it with was really into it too. A lot of laughs, a lot of oh gods and stuff like that. It was really good, and it was surprisingly more full than I thought. was going to be. I quite enjoyed this movie. I don't know if you would like it though, Walker. Maybe you surprise me and you would like it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I had barely even heard of it until this week.
Yeah, it the trailer came out and I was like, oh, it looks kind of cute, like Warm Bodies, and then it gets really dark very quickly, and I was like, oh, this this could be different. It's got like a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think. Let me look. Let me see this. Yeah, it's got 48 or 49% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.5 on IMDb, 48% on Metacritic, and on Google says 89% of users liked it. Click on the Rotten Tomatoes score, see what the consensus is. So it's got like the half the page will load. Let's see, there we go. It's got an 81% from audience scores, certified audience scores. An affectionate, let's see, the page just jumped. An affectionate callback to classic horror comedies of the 1980s, Lisa Frankenstein can be fun in its own right, despite not quite measuring up to the movies imitate up to the movies it imitates. I've heard it compared obviously to Warm Bodies. I've heard Heather's. I've heard Edward Scissorhands, although I don't think that applies because that movie is more sweet in nature. This movie is not as sweet. Yeah, I quite love this movie, man. I'd give it a must see. But again, the caveat: I don't think this movie's for everybody.
I'll do a little research on it. Check out the trailer again. I'm trying
Yeah.
to. I'm looking up what comes out this week. See if there's anything that we can try to
Oh, I know what's
plan
coming
on.
out next week.
What's
Madam
that?
Web.
Madam Web. That's right. Looks like Madam
Mm-hmm.
Web and Bob Marley would be the two movies of note to come out this week. Are you excited for Madam Web?
I am so excited for Madam
Huh.
Web for the sheer fact that I no longer have to see that trailer play before every fucking movie. God damn, it is so annoying. Like the song, I don't want to see it because I don't want to get a strike, but like I don't like that song, and it play it just it drives me it drives me insane. It drives me insane. The I don't know why the trailer. Like when I first saw the trailer, I was like, "Oh, this looks good." I think we talked about it on the show. I was like, "Oh, this looks fun. It could be entertaining." I don't know, but I the more I've watched the trailer, the less I like it.
Yeah, I'm not particularly excited about it. I mean, I'll see it and hopefully it's proven wrong. There's a lot of people attached to it though, which makes me like Adam Scott's in it. I mean, he doesn't seem. I mean, everybody's got to get their paycheck. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. We'll see. I mean, I'm going to see it.
Yeah.
I'm. We'll see how it goes. I wonder how it'll connect to other things.
Well, they said it's its own
I
standalone thing. They originally planned for it to be connected to Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, but
really.
then they went, no, let's not do that. Let's connect it to Tom Holland. And then they realized, oh, this movie's set in like the early 2000s or 90s or something like that. Timeline wise, this doesn't make any sense. So they kind of took out all the Spider Man references. And now it's kind of its own thing. It's kind of like what they did with Morbius, where you see all the Spider Man references in the trailer and then they take it out and then it's its own thing. And they do that awful post credit scene where somehow Vulture ends up in there. Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, we'll
I'm not
see.
the
I
only
mean,
like Sony Spider Man less thing that's worked has been Venom for me. I love
mhm.
I really like the first movie. I love the second one. It's ridiculous and awesome because it's
Yeah.
only like an hour and a half and it's Tom Hardy and Venom the entire movie. I like that stuff, but Morbius was not very good. and uh, what's that other movie that's coming out with Aaron Taylor Johnson? Why am I forgetting? It's a big character, Craven, Craven the Hunter. They should have saved him for a Spider-Man movie. That would have been perfect. But instead, they're doing a solo movie where he's somehow a hero. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Yeah,
I'm ready
I'll,
for March to get some more primo movies.
I am
March
too.
seems
March
to
is going to
really
be
kick roll it. It seems to get the ball rolling every year. Sometimes a
yeah.
little too fast. Sometimes all of a sudden it's like, oh god, I've got 6 movies I need to see. But but now it always feels like we're kind of stretching. I mean, Madam Well, we'll see that. The Bob Marley One Love. I haven't heard anything about that. I don't know if I'll see it or not. Maybe, but
I've
it's got
heard
Kingsley Ben-Adir in it, who was definitely the best part of Secret Invasion.
yeah, the only good part.
So we'll see. I don't know.
I've heard. I saw a review for it. Christian Harloff, who I really like, put out a review for it, and he really liked it. So um, I think he gave it like 3.5 out of 5 schmoes, as he would
Yeah.
say.
And I mean, biopics, at the very least, I mean, it can be, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about Bob Marley and his life, so it
I don't
maybe
either.
learn a little something. That's always kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
Um, you got anything else?
I am all tapped out, man.
Well, I think that does it for this week. Then I thank you all again so much for listening. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thanks for watching. If you're catching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe for more movie talk each week. Let us know in the comments, what did you think of Lisa Frankenstein, American Fiction, Gen V, if you just got around to it. What else did I watch? I forgot what I
Echo,
just
Dream
Echo.
Scenario.
Oh yeah, Dreams. But with that said, it's been Ben and Walker, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.